Hey folks, welcome back to another installment of the SBC Tier List. Today we're going to be looking at the Radxa Zero 2 Pro with no autofocus apparently. There you go. So this one was not sent to me by Radxa. This one I actually bought a number of weeks ago now for reasons that I don't recall anymore. I'm not sure why I bought it, but I do have it now. So we're going to test this one out. We're going to try a couple of different images on it. We're going to benchmark it. We're going to talk about the pros and cons. We're going to slap it somewhere on the tier list with everything else that we have been slapping onto the tier list. Now, if you're not actually sure what this tier list is, then let me take you over here just to show you. This is something I've been putting together, and I have broken it down into a few different things. If you're not sure what an ESB is or what I'm calling an ESBC, I have started a little board taxonomies Reddit here, not Reddit, bloody hell, GitHub, which just kind of defines what's what and gives you some expectations around it. So what we've been doing is when I review something new like the awesome Waveshare RP2350 Plus or the Luckfox Lyra and Lyra Plus, I slap it on here. We give it a rating based on a couple of different criteria. So we're looking at the features and specs, so like form factor, your basic CPU, RAM, eMMC, GPU, Wi-Fi, Ethernet, GPIOs, how well the GPU performs, what sort of storage it's got, if it has an RTC, if it has any AI features, if you can do anything 4K, MIPI, CSI, and DSI, and PoE. We're then going to look at how good the documentation and support is. We're going to look at the software images and firmware, like the SDKs for it, everything like that. We're going to assess the performance and reliability, because you can get some products that are otherwise quite good, but they don't perform well. And then lastly, we're going to be looking at accessories and compatibility, so other things. And then we slap it somewhere on here by judging all of those. So the Radxa Zero 2 Pro is what looks like an awesome little device. I think originally I was talking to someone online on Reddit, I think, and I ordered it because I thought it had that AM311D. This has got the D. No pun intended. I've got to go have a look and I'll be back in a second. Yeah, all right. So I was hoping that this had the 311D, not, the 311D2, not the, wow, that perspective is really weird, not the 311D. And the reason for that is that I really wanted the 4K hardware encoding that the 311D2 has, but I'm happy with this. This is a awesome little board, especially if you're into the Zero series of things, because you have a very compact form factor here, which of course has a lot of capabilities. Looking briefly at it, at the board itself, we've got dual USB Type-C. We have two little buttons here, which don't appear to have any labels, but would likely be flash mode and reset. We have one of those tiny HDMIs. We've got a small connector on the side there. That might be for a breakout board. There's one on the back as well. We have our standard Pi 2 format header, SoC, RAM next to it, an AP6256 wireless AP with a little FPC antenna attached. And then on the back, we have a spot there where there could be some storage if you attached it, another FPC connector, and your SD card slot. So if we head over to the computer and have a look at the actual specs for this, you can see here that A311D, which isn't actually an SoC I've used before. I haven't done much Amlogic stuff. Has quad A73s and dual A53s with a G52 GPU. Now what makes Radxa better than some others in a lot of test benches is that they make sure that their GPUs actually work. They make sure that hardware, video decoding, 3D, 2D, everything like that works. Now it's not the absolute latest generation, but this thing's been around for a while. It's also got a 5 TOPS at Int 8 NPU built in, and you can get this little heatsink for it, which I did get so we can test it out properly. So we have hardware decoding. Now we've got 4K 30 something, we'll find out. Wi-Fi 5, external antenna support, optional eMMC, and MIPI DSI. So that's one of the connectors, is the MIPI DSI connector. Standard GPIO, MIPI DSI is going to be the other connector that's on there. And you can see here they've got a couple of little examples of what works with it. I do have some displays that I'm curious if will work with it, so we might try that out. Now, if we go to the download section, you can see there is the standard Debian OS, which is going to be in their Radxa build GitHub repo. And then if we jump over to the documentation, they do have quite a bit here. So I've already downloaded what we need, and I've got my awesome little Pine Power desktop power supply. What I'm going to stop and do here, though, is a new installment of Sponsored by PCBWay. So, as you know, PCBWay are awesome and support this channel, but I'm going to actually show you how to use them. So if you click the link below, or the QR code that's on the screen, you're going to get something a little bit different. You're going to get $5 off your first order. It's not much, but it doesn't need to be much because it's quite cost effective. What I'll do now is I'll put through a nice quick order. I'll show you a few little benefits. It's probably going to be a minute or two, so skip forward if you want. I might include some chapter markers, but you might want to hang around and check it out too. If we go into their shared projects, you can find some really cool, fun stuff. And looking at the projects of the week, you find some really cool, fun stuff. It can be, you get all sorts of wild and wonderful inventions in here that people have come up with, like a replacement SNES controller, which, hey, that looks like the one that I was working on. It's not, but I got to check that out. I was making a video about that. It's sitting just next to me. So what we're going to go back and do, though, I really, really like the look of these little solar-powered MPPT LiPo chargers. I imagine these will be extremely handy in my garden. So I'll have a quick look at what it does. Pardon how bad my internet here is. It's loading. We can see here TP4056, which is pretty standard, and then they wanted to go with that, but they ended up going with the CN3165. In this, they document the features, they show it up close. So we've got suitable for solar, on-board MOSFET, no external blocking diode, 1% accuracy, continuous current, constant charge up to 1 amp, constant current and constant voltage operation, automatic sleep status indicator, charge termination, automatic recharge, and battery temperature sensing. So that works for me. That's a nice, simple little design. And they've put it into a beautiful looking layout with all the supporting components and some credits on the back, which you always want to keep. You also have some information here about your resistor selection. Trickle charging, constant current charging, charge termination, testing it out, everything that you need. So I want this. And with PCBWay, what makes that easy is you go, give me that, add to cart. I'm already logged in, so it's going to slap everything together, and it's got some defaults. Let's go up to the top. That looks like it's picked up the Gerber correctly, single piece. Now, you can get quite a few pieces for only $5. So I'm going to go 20, you'll see why shortly. Going down a little bit, 2 layers fine, that's all fine. I'm going to make it a little bit thinner because I want to. I'm going to go with the white that he used, or she, I'm not sure. I'm going to go with this, so they might actually change it to gold if it fits in with another batch that they're doing. Wires are fine, the 1 ounce copper's fine. Yes, remove the product number. I mean, no, I don't want to pay $1.50. That'll be hidden somewhere. If you are designing the PCB, you can put somewhere on here, like under this connector, for example, you can put way, and then that's where it's going to go. You don't actually have to pay. You can have specify location. So put way, and they'll hide it for you, which is quite excellent. Now, I've picked 20. I've picked all the specs that I want. They're all within what they call these quick turn PCB manufacturing. And then here, single piece, top side, and there are 20 here as well. And I'm all right with Chinese substitute. So now we can hit calculate. And you can see we're getting 20 PCBs for only $5, which is excellent. That's limited to 2 layers and 100 by 100 mil. And you can see here that you get 20 assembled for $29. These are the current promotions, which are absolutely worth it. What's not included is the parts cost, so that will come back to us in not too long. We'll come back to that. But here, for $5 PCB, $29 assembly, I do order some stuff, so I get $1 off that, $9 shipping. Let's actually change that. China to Australia isn't the cheapest, but global standard shipping is enough. And you can see $7 there. So $32.95 Australian, or if you use the link below or QR code on the screen, that will be $5 off. For $27, you get 20 solar MPPT LiPo rechargers. That is excellent. I'm going to save that to the cart now. I'm not making any weapons, so I'm very happy with that arrangement. And you'll see when you go to your cart here, it is subject to audit. So before you even give them your money, their engineers are going to make sure that your PCB is sane and that the assembly fits. They're then going to come back with the components cost too. Probably going to be about $5 for this. It's really not going to be much, and you will earn points as well that then you can use and buy some other stuff with. So you can see if I go over now to the module store, you can even pay for it with your points or beans. I can go through to something like a Pi 5 that I want, which is 1004, whatever it was, beans, 1,400. Okay, I don't have enough. I have 5,000 beans. Can I get, oh, yes. All right, so I can get myself a Pi 4 2 gig. Dang it. Almost with the beans that I've got. After this order, I'll probably be able to get them, which will be awesome. So you buy useful stuff and collect beans and then get free stuff. It is win-win. And of course, once you've got an account, which is free, you don't even have to put a credit card in. They do promotions around Christmas, Chinese New Year, everything like that, and you win more free stuff. Honestly, you get stuff for free all the time, but you can order stuff cheap as hell. So we'll come back to this once it's been ordered. Sorry that there's a bit of a longer ad read, but as you can see, it is really easy and you can get some cool stuff. Let's jump back to our Zero 2 Pro, I should say. So over here we have that. I've then got the heatsink for it as well, which is sealed up. There we go. Split it open. And heatsink is very useful when you're using it constantly. You don't want to risk doing any damage by running it constantly without a heatsink, especially in warmer environments like Australia. But it also means that when you're benchmarking it, you're getting more accurate results. So these were quite cheap, and all right, yep, and it comes with the pads that we need there, and it's even got the little gaps cut out. This is fairly light. It is a tiny fan. There is a fan connector just there, so we'll assemble that shortly. And firstly, we're going to look at the availability. Now, that's the first thing we rank it on. If we go back to here, let's hit buy. We can see Amazon, which is good. I'll tell you why in a sec. AliExpress and Arrays, that's Hong Kong and China, and AllNet China as well. The reason I say Amazon is good, well, not in stock, is because of those tariffs that are happening. So you're gonna unfortunately be paying an import fee these days. All right, nope, there are some Indian ones, which is good too, but they only ship to India. So if you're in India, you're in luck. That means, unfortunately for this, for price and availability, I mean, I can't actually judge on price yet. Let's have a quick look. Starts at 90 bucks, 106 bucks for one with 16 gig eMMC. I'm pretty happy with that. I'd say it's about mid. So for availability, I've got to give it a 2 or a 3. It's not widely available. Radxa don't have a huge amount of distribution, but it's not usually needed. These new tariffs have changed that. Pricing is about mid as well. So I'm going to give it a 3 for price and availability. If they had somewhere outside of China and India that stocked it, they would definitely give more points. And this pricing, oh, you know what? That's in Australian dollars. We have a look at US dollars just to make a bit more sense out of it. All right, 65 bucks. Yeah, I'm going to give this 3 for availability, 4 for pricing though. I'll round it up. We'll say overall it's getting a 4 for price and availability. Don't even have to round up. I'm going to say 3.5, which is the actual average for that one. We then can move on to the features and specs. So So the form factor is a little bigger than your normal gumstick form factor for a Zero. The CPU is a little plus big, or a big plus little, which is really good, so 6 cores all up. You've got RAM options of 4 or 8 gig, that's average, that's not too bad. You can get it with the eMMC, Radxa GPUs normally work. It's got Wi-Fi 5 on board, which is good enough for something this small. There's no Ethernet option, but you do have standard GPIO header, which is extremely handy. You've got M.2 and optional, so you've got SD and optional onboard eMMC, so that's quite good. It doesn't have a spot for a real-time clock battery, which is a little bit of a letdown. 5 TOPS on the NPU is quite good though, especially when you're working with these MIPI DSI or CSI connections, but those are non-standard. Those are much smaller, and it didn't come with any adapter boards or anything to use a standard camera, so you'd have to get their camera to use it, which is a shame. There is no PoE support because there's no Ethernet, that's fine. And there is 4K support, but it can't do 4K 60 FPS, which is what I was after. So the specs here are really good. The letdowns are a 311D2 would be great. Standard MIPI DSI and CSI connectors or an adapter would be great. and Wi-Fi 6 would be great. Other than that, I don't see any issues here. So that is a solid 4 on the tier list for features and specs. Moving on to documentation and support, it's Radxa. So I'm going to give them a 5 for documentation and support straight away because they've got their stuff on GitHub. They're always happy to answer questions. They've got their forums, they've got GitHub issues, and they've got comprehensive documentation. They give you the SDKs. They include their R build stuff so that you can build your own images. And the kernels are usually pretty recent, but even if they're not, they do also support Armbian. This model itself doesn't have a direct Armbian build, but I've just grabbed a generic Armbian build and we'll test that out. And they also share third-party images. So if we jump back over to the documentation here and have a look at install OS, we go to download summary. No, it wasn't in there. Where was it? Somewhere else I saw, it might have even been over on their GitHub. So jump to there. Yep. They've got links to the Manjaro and Armbian. So they've got third-party images available too. That makes this more extensible than usual, which I like. So 5 out of 5 for software and images. I can tell that straight away. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab an SD card and I'm going to put the Debian GUI image on here. We'll test it out. We'll have a look at that first boot and we'll see what kernel it comes with. I'm very certain it's going to be a 5.15 kernel. It's an October 2023 build and I haven't had to update it because apparently it's stable. We'll see if that's the case. One tick. All right, so here is a freshly flashed 32 gig SD card. Now, if you need any of these, I do have these in stock, and I also put on the heatsink at the same time. I did cut this thermal pad down, though. It was quite excessive. As you can see, I didn't actually need too much of it, so I just cut it down to exactly the size of the RAM and SoC there. I also have some of this thermal pad in stock. In case you didn't know, I do actually have this e-commerce shop, and I've now got a pile of SSDs in stock. I've got some Pine Power stuff. That's the display I'm going to test out with this too, and there's quite a bit here. So if you need basically any electronic or bespoke RISC-V stuff, I've got it, or I'm trying to get it. If I don't have it, there is a suggested product form right down there, but you can see as well that if we go thermal, there we go. Thermally conductive silicon pads. So if you run out, you can get these cheap as chips. What I'm going to do now is put this SD card in, and I've moved the antenna over the side. I've plugged that fan in. We'll grab the HDMI cable and some power, plug this in, and see what it does first boot. Grab this back. Here we have some power. I'm going to put that straight into this little meter that I've got. It's going to be a little bit hard for you to see, so you can prop that up slightly. And then I'm going to use the power out from that to power it so we can monitor what this is doing. There we go. And, let's see if we can find it. There we go. And we've got some micro or mini HDMI or whatever it is this thing wants. So plug that in nice and carefully. And then if we sit this over here, let's try and move it back a bit. Oh, that's fine. All right. And put this in there. It's immediately booting, drawing about a watt. HDMI, let's have a watch of that. It was not plugged into my computer properly, but it definitely is now. So just in case it needs to be plugged in when it boots, in case of any dynamic detection, we will just unplug this one and plug it back in. And whilst this boots back up, we can see the current consumption again, which is incredibly low. Like 1.2 watts is excellent. I'm still not seeing anything on HDMI though. So, oh, there we go. It's 1080 and having a fit. I've got a feeling though that will be more my capture card than anything. It's picking this up as 1080 i60. I'm just going to pause this tick. I'm going to twiddle with OBS and see if I can get this talking to the card correctly. It might be a driver issue though. All right, I've done some troubleshooting and it turns out it wasn't this. I was trying different cables, adapters, everything like that. The Zero 2 is working perfectly fine. While the issue was in the end that my capture card drivers aren't handling 60 FPS very well at the moment, which I did discover in a previous video too and just forgot about. So out of the box, you can see this has a nice KDE GUI and it comes with Firefox installed, which I'll of course also install Chrome. and I'm going to join the Wi-Fi to see how well the Wi-Fi works. Whilst I'm at it, we'll see if I've got HTOP on here. Terminal. Alright, that's a bit bigger so you can see it now. NeoFetch, not there. HTOP, oh yep. Yeah, it's handling everything perfectly well. So we have swap pre-configured there. We've got our 4 gig of RAM and 2 gig of swap. I am just going to do sudo sysctl vm.swappiness equals 10. The default password's Radxa. Now that just makes it the kernel less likely to use the swap, which I don't want to do because it's an SD card. You can see it has expanded to 24 gig. It looks like it's filled the SD card, which is good. And we have a 6.1 kernel. Wow, all right. So for an older build, we have a newer kernel. That makes me really, really happy. Let's join my Wi-Fi. It is picking up my 2.4 and my 5 gig networks, which is excellent. I'm gonna connect to this one. Tell you what, didn't expect it, but I don't mind this newer KDE. I have not used KDE in some time now. Can't even remember when. Yeah, sure, just do that. There we go. I'm going to use the default Radxa password here. And let's straight away go to Web 3.0 base mark. Just see how this thing's going. Now, if you're in, well, it helps if I wait till I got a DHCP address. Configuring interface. All right, I'll let it do its stuff for a moment. Now, if you are liking this video, if you enjoy this sort of content, then don't forget to like and subscribe as well. It lets me know what you like and what's... Hey, what happened there? I do know there has also been some issues in the past with 5 gig networks and WPA3 in certain instances. Not sure if that's what's applying here. So my Wi-Fi is 2.4, which is a good comparison. Yep, that looks right. Let's go to our console. I keep forgetting what it's called. Sudo, we'll just jump straight over like that and go apt update and apt upgrade. And I'll get ready over here because I know I'm also going to want a few things. So sudo apt install neofetch screen vim. That's probably all I usually need. Could not fetch, certificate is not trusted. What that is. All right, so for that you have to download their keyring deb file. I'm gonna make note here, so keyring deb, and I'll put a link to that in the description below because that was a little bit annoying, but now we can actually do the apt upgrade. See what it's gonna pull through here from their repos. There is quite a bit, so we'll go ahead and do that. In the meantime, I'm gonna start downloading the Geekbench packages. And I can tell you so far, what we're probably going to also need is apt install Chromium browser. So we don't need that one anymore. That one we're done with. And that one's still going. So I'll download those files, we'll install Chromium browser, and I'll grab that display out to see if it's compatible. Catch you shortly. First, I just want to run this and see what sort of score it gets, and we can compare that to some others. I've already got, what do I got? Oh yeah, I've got Geekbench on a USB drive. In hindsight, don't know how to get the USB drive to plug in without losing keyboard and mouse, which means I can't then copy it. So I might as well start downloading it again. It is 1 o'clock though, so I'm gonna grab some lunch and we'll come back to this shortly. All right, that's finished now, and you can see it actually got a pretty good score. 149 is not bad at all. For such a tiny unit, this is actually fairly comparable to the GMK Tech G3 Plus. Granted, this did actually do the WebGL 2.0 test, but that's better than I would have expected. What we're going to quickly do is this old test. So we'll just see how it goes playing YouTube. Everyone loves watching YouTube videos. You're watching this now, which means you like watching YouTube videos. If you do and you like these videos in particular, don't also forget to hit like and subscribe. Like that can be actually really, really handy for me. It shows the algorithm that you like what you're seeing, and it's gonna then probably recommend to you stuff that's more accurately tailored to your likes. But it's also gonna promote my video a bit more, which means I might make more than like $6 from a video for once. So here, if we have a look at the last Radxa device that I tested, oh, my phone's going off. I'll ignore that. What we can do is ignore the advert, because you've got to love YouTube.
She's a woman of great integrity. I've
Come on,
known
come
her
on,
for
come
many
on.
years as a surgeon.
Authorised by Sue Chapman.
I don't think they've realised that the local elections have already happened, so none of that stuff actually matters in the slightest. But at least these politicians are wasting their money. That does make me quite happy. Here you go. So let's set this to forcefully 1080.
Hey folks, how you going?
Maximize it. Yep, that's definitely hardware accelerated. That looks excellent. There's no video tearing, no issues, nothing like that. Is, yeah, mint. And look, free advertising. There's my Patreon. If you didn't know, I've got a Patreon now, and I offer like support. You can go and join for free, but if you pay me, I'll support you with your SBC endeavors. And I've got chat going, so you can chat to me and some of the other guys, and it's really, really handy. So do check out my Patreon. Look, there it is. It's all SBC themed, and you can see some behind the scenes of this office that I'm building and everything like that. But back to the important bit, that works, which is excellent. So now we're going to do the Geekbench test. We're going to do Geekbench 5 first and then 6. You can see there in HTOP, the load was pretty high, but it is starting to drop again. I've manually forced the fan to be turned on. That was done just with a GPO command. I wonder if it's in history. Come on, keyboard. Yeah, so all I did was bank 1, GPO 11 equals 1. That forcefully turned the fan on, and that's going to make sure that it's getting the best cooling opportunity it can, because right now, according to my watch, it's 34 degrees Celsius, which is something warm in freedom units. I'll leave this running again. I'll hit pause with the recording. We'll come back to this when it's done, which won't be too long, and we'll start number 6 going. But so far, this is a bloody awesome little device. I'm thoroughly impressed, Radxa. Well done. I'll see you guys in a very short period. All right, Geekbench 5 has finished. So you can see there 345 for the single core and 1100 for the multi-core. That's really good for something so tiny. If we jump back and we have a look at, I don't know why this is laid out so weirdly, at just sorting by multi-core here. So you can see that's doing better than the Muse book. Rather, that's RISC-V. So it's far outperforming the ROC 3 Model A, which I actually thought would have been more powerful. They're both an ARM V8 1.8 gigahertz according to that. It's of course not quite as powerful as the FogWise, although that being said, the single core does actually outperform it, and it's only behind by about 15% or so on the multi-core. So, I mean, these are designed for AI, not for general compute, but the fact that this tiny thing is nearly as powerful as the Luckfox Omni, more on single core and almost on multi-core, is stupidly insane. This is a ridiculously, ridiculously powerful board. So now I'm going to run Geekbench 6 and we'll compare that as well. Alrighty, again with, what have we got here? The Zero 2 Pro, pretty much pulling up alongside the multi-core performance of the Radxa FogWise Airbox. Granted, again, it's not meant for core, it's meant for AI. And not far behind the Luckfox Omni. If we look at single core though, it's right up there with the Orange Pi CM, oh no, sorry, with the Omni. It's ahead of the Omni, and it's about half that of the Orange Pi CM5, which makes sense because that's a much newer processor. But honestly, it's outdone the Debix Model C, the Zero 3, the ROC 3 Model A. This is a stupidly, stupidly powerful thing, the size of a packet of gum. So, what we've got left is a few little things to test here. So, I've got another SD image with Armbian, a newer Armbian. Pardon the fan, you can see spinning here. And I've got this DSI display. So, let's shut this down. We'll just go, we'll shut it down gracefully so we're not wrecking our, yeah, that one. Our image that's on there in case we want to use it again, and then I'm going to connect this DSI display. All right, here we go. So this is the one that's actually linked to from the Radxa website. This is the Armbian 24.5 Radxa Zero 2, the 6.8.7 kernel with XFCE, so it's the Armbian build for that. But then I just went and had a look over at the Armbian website, and I found an even newer one. It looks like there's a release. If we just jump back to desktop here, go Armbian, download 02. It says 02, not 02 Pro, but we can see that's what we're after. And they've got one with a 6.12 kernel. And we're going to be going with the Ubuntu GNOME there. But what I'm going to do, I'm just going to see if this one from Radxa boots, which I expect it will. So that now is all plugged in. Actually, yeah, it's, I mean, it's still doing that same 60 FPS thing. Just quickly create a root password here. It all looks good. We want bash. This is pretty hard to read, but once you've done this 100 times, you kind of get used to it. My real name? No, I'm not telling you my real name. You don't need that. Connect via wireless. Yes. So we're going to try the WPA3 5 gigahertz again and see how that goes. I believe it'll be fixed in the newer images, but then when I do the 6.12 image, I'm also going to run those benchmarks again, and I'm going to put in the notes of those, excellent, of those benchmarks, exactly which kernel version it was, because I've got a feeling that the newer kernel, especially even though 6.1 is good, but 6.12 is going to have huge, huge improvements. And even now there's a news article today saying that, oh, that's gone. That 6.14 has even more performance improvement. So I wonder if that will make much of a difference to the overall performance that we're seeing here. I'll let this go for a tick. That image is downloading and flashing, and there we go, starting a desktop environment. I don't know what this GUI is doing either. You're seeing the same thing that I am. It's not like looking hugely happy. Our console says it's starting the desktop environment. The desktop environment is just splish-splashing around. So let's just go back to here. We'll log in as root. We'll give it the old init6, and we'll just see if it manages to boot back up a little bit happier than that. We could probably modify either grub or the, yeah, probably would be grub, wouldn't it? And set that 30 or 50 FPS statically there. But at that point, I'm just compensating for my own busted recording hardware, which I have to fix before the next video. We're getting there, slowly but surely. So yeah, fresh boot, we'll see if this gives us a GUI. Otherwise, we will then grab that absolute latest one, which I'm already going to start flashing to or burning to an SD card now. No, it just doesn't want to do it. That is quite interesting. So I got that from the Radxa download site. I'm not too sure why it's doing that. It could be because it's having out. No, it couldn't be because of the Blackmagic capture device. I would say that this image just doesn't work. So the official one from the Radxa repos works very, very well, except, like, works extremely well, I've got to say, except for that deb file that you have to install for the certificates. The what else have we got? The waveshare display we couldn't test out. The fan with the GPIO was you had to manually turn it on. If it got warm enough, it'd probably turn itself on. It's not very warm. So I'd say it lost 0.5 points for that deb file needing to be installed. And it lost 0.5 points for possibly unsure fan control, or because the documentation for the fan was lacking too. I had to find that information on a forum. But as far as performance goes, like the fact that it comes with the drivers, YouTube videos works, 4K video works, WebGL works, it all works out of the box with really good performance. It's gonna get a 5 out of 5 for performance and reliability. The Wi-Fi, the goddamn Wi-Fi. So the image is from October 2023, and it's gonna lose points for WPA3 or 5 gig not working. Now we know that works in the newer one. This latest Armbian image is flashing, and then we'll test that out. But I'm gonna say then, so we've got 3.5 for price and availability. We've got 4 for features. Documentation and support, we've given that a 5, but I've taken 0.5 off because of the fan. The software, and the images available, I would give it a 4 because of the image being a bit dated, and the Radxa Armbian image that they linked to in their own website didn't work. But then I'm going to take another 0.5 off because we did have to install that deb file for the bloody certificates. So that's going to be a 4.5 for documentation and a 3.5 for the software. But for performance and stability, 5 out of 5. That is bloody solid. The last thing then is going to be the accessories and compatibility. So whilst this last image is flashing, let's have a think through. Power is USB-C, and right now that's drawing, it's running off 5 volts, drawing 250 milliamps, so easy to run off everything. No PoE support, but it doesn't have Ethernet support, so that's perfectly fine. Camera's MIPI CSI, but it's a compact MIPI CSI, and apparently only the IMX 415 Radxa camera works, which I've got, but I'm not going to bother testing it because I trust that it works. Storage, you can buy it with eMMC on board or SD card, so I'd say that's really good. It supports a quad lane MIPI DSI display, and the documentation examples for that look perfect. There is third-party accessories that appear compatible. It has official power supply, display, camera, and heatsink though, so it has good things there. It uses a standard Pi 2 header for the hat. There are no cases, but this, is a very easy to work with sort of form. The heatsink might pose some very minor challenges, but I'm honestly not expecting much of a hurdle there. I didn't even check if that shutdown requested. Yeah, that was me smashing it. So accessories and compatibility, I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5 for that as well. The one downside, I mean, I don't like this micro HDMI, but it's part of the form factor, so you're not losing points for that. The one downside of the accessories is going to be that MIPI CSI connector. So DSI, fine. Small is quite common with the displays. The micro, the tiny one that you've got there with the 0.5mm pitch or whatever it is much less common, and that can be quite limiting. I don't know if it's a different pin order either. I just didn't bother to have a look at that. So you're losing a little point there just for that. So I'm going to write down specs. No, what am I doing? I'm bloody accessories and compatibility. That was a 4.5. So really, really close. We've ended up, let's go back and grab our calculator here. We have 3.5 for price and availability, 4 for features, 4.5 for Doco because they lost half a point, 3.5 for software because they also lost half a point, a solid 5 for the performance and reliability. Those excellent work, Tom Cuby and the Radxa team. And then an excellent 4.5, an almost excellent 4.5, I should say, for the accessories and compatibility. So that gives us 3.6, just over 3.5, thankfully. And if we go and have a look over SBC tier list, you got to reckon, we call that like, 1 to 5. Giving it a 3.5 is just going to push it up into an A. It was nearly a B tier, because the images are a little bit out of date and had some issues. That is it. If the images were updated, I think if the images were updated and if it was available on the Amazon store, this would be an S tier. Just the images or the Amazon store would bump it very close, but both of them definitely an S tier. So for now, we're going to give this an A as well, which goes hand in hand with the Luckfox Omni, the Luckfox Lyra, and the ESP32P4 function board. So well done, Tom and the team. I know this is a bit of a legacy product, like this has been around for some time now, but it is a very powerful product by all means, and there are a lot of people talking about it and using it. So I'd implore you, please update your official image. B32 was October 2023. That's a year and a half ago. You could fix the Wi-Fi, you could install the certificate keyring, you could update to a newer kernel, and bam, you're in the home race then. You'll even get more performance out of it. And then just, send me some on consignment to stock if you want, or get some back in that Amazon store, because people in the US, people in the US are going to be slapped with the tariffs on that, which isn't ideal. So now if we just have a look back here, that is done. So I'll grab the SD card out. We're going to put this in here as usual. This is the latest official Armbian image for this board, unlike that unofficial Armbian image, which is officially from Radxa for this board that didn't work. So let's give this the old out and in and out. Was that a clockwork orange? The old in and out. Flip over to HDMI and just see what we get on here. We can see it's drawing, about 3, is that going to flip? There you go, about 300 milliamps, so it's definitely doing something, but I can also see, hey, there we go. All right, so here we are with this new Armbian install, and it's looking pretty good for me. I, of course, dropped the resolution to 50 Hertz just because of that strange issue that I have going on. And unfortunately have to do with snap packages because this one is based on Ubuntu, which means that we have this bloated crapshoot called snapd to deal with that results in a 400 meg Chrome install that takes nearly half an hour. So let's run this, make sure that everything's working as it should, and we'll get on with that Geekbench. Well, as you can see, folks, it just doesn't perform as well with this image as it did with the official one. I think it'd be awesome if they released a new official image with the latest kernel. It'd probably get way better scores, but I have saved all of them in here now. So if you go and have a look, it's only come up as a 02 because of the image name. I don't know why the website's a bit busted here, but you can see the differences, and I've specified in the notes for them heatsink fan forced on and whether or not it's the official image. So where's that leave us? Well, we've got this excellent little device here that draws stuff all power, is incredibly powerful and earned and a very deserving A tier. There's really not much wrong with it at all, and especially if you want something that's Pi compatible but with like full SBC grunt. Like if you're normally using a Pi Zero but you want a full Linux desktop, this would do it. If we ran this again without the UI, Geekbench without the UI, and just did it at CLI, which I considered doing, I think even talked about. Don't have lights on, hang on. That's a bit better. Then I think it would get even better benchmark results, but it really, really does need that newer image to make the most of that. So what is this best for? Whatever the hell you want. I think this would be excellent for Octoprint, to be honest. Or Clipper or any of those sorts of things, especially if you're using some of the advanced features that they say do need a bit of grunt, like some of the leveling stuff and I think the seams and everything. I don't know much about it, but they usually say for that to run it on a more powerful processor than just a Raspberry Pi Zero, because it doesn't have the grunt. But this has 6 cores and enough RAM to run all of that without a problem. So it is A-tiered, it's nearly S-tiered, it's very affordable, it works extremely well. The fan is a little bit noisy, but it does have the PWM control, so I believe you can turn that down, and it should turn on automatically without being forced on automatically. I would love to know what you think in the description, in the comments below. I'll leave any links to anything relevant below as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy this content and this video. This one wasn't sponsored by Radxa, so hence PCBWay is jumping in and helping out here, and I'd like to thank all of you for your support. Your comments, your likes, your subscriptions, Patreon, engaging on Reddit, sending me supportive emails, even helping with these images or when I get stuck is hugely appreciated. So thank you to you. Thank you to PCBWay, of course, for sponsoring this video and helping me out. Thank you to all the lovely people at r/SBCs that are helping to grow this subreddit of awesome folks. Thank you to... Oh, that's it. Oh, well, thank you to Radxa for making awesome projects and supporting an open source community do great things, and us tinkerers have these fantastic products to play with. So I hope you all enjoyed. I look forward to any feedback you have. I hope you like that this is all getting better finally, and I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy.